Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us today because we are diving into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting, and that is the tale of how a seemingly ordinary 2012 5-cent coin, yes, just a nickel from Denver, turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $13 million because of a series of bizarre minting errors, production anomalies, striking mistakes, and other unexpected factors that transformed it from a piece of everyday pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. And in this video, we are going to explore all of the details of what could possibly make a 5-cent coin produced in the millions skyrocket to such an astronomical value, why collectors are going crazy over it, what types of mistakes occurred on this coin, and why it has become one of the most talked about rarities in the modern numismatic world. So sit back and get ready because the story of this 2012 5-cent is going to blow your mind as we go layer by layer into the types of errors, the rarity, the condition, the speculation, and the massive impact it has on coin collecting culture. Now, when we think about the 2012 nickel, most of us remember it as a modern issue struck at the Denver Mint with the standard Jefferson design featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, struck in large numbers to meet everyday circulation needs. And because of that, millions upon millions were created, so at first glance it seems impossible that one could ever reach a value of $13 million. But this particular coin did, and that has everything to do with the strange and highly dramatic errors that occurred during its creation. Now, one of the most talked about possibilities is that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, which happens when the blank piece of metal intended for one denomination accidentally gets fed into the press meant for another. And if a 5-cent design is struck on something like a dime planchet, quarter planchet, or even a foreign planchet, the result is an extremely rare coin that collectors fight over. But in this case, experts believe that the 2012 nickel might have been struck on a transitional planchet or a leftover experimental alloy blank that somehow got mixed into the normal production, giving it not only a different weight, but also a different metallic composition, which instantly sets it apart from its peers. And when a major grading service confirmed that this piece did not match the standard specifications for 2012 nickels, the excitement grew. And what makes it even more fascinating is that this coin also exhibits multiple strike errors, including evidence of a double strike where the coin was struck more than once, but slightly off-center each time, leaving overlapping design details that create a dramatic and highly noticeable visual effect that collectors absolutely adore, because it is a clear and undeniable mint-made mistake. Furthermore, there are accounts that this particular nickel shows a full brockage error, where part of the design was impressed incorrectly because another coin got stuck in the press and transferred its image in reverse, like a mirror impression, and having a brockage combined with a double strike on a wrong planchet makes this coin essentially a triple error rarity, which is almost unheard of in modern minting. Now, if that were not enough, careful examination revealed even more minor but significant anomalies, such as die cracks running across Jefferson's portrait, die chips in the lettering, misaligned dies that caused the obverse and reverse to be slightly rotated compared to one another, and even some weakly struck areas that point to insufficient pressure during striking, all of which add to the unique fingerprint of this coin, making it unlike any other example known. And when something has that many layers of mistakes, it moves beyond being just an error coin to becoming a one-of-one masterpiece of minting chaos. And rarity always drives value because collectors crave the opportunity to own something no one else can have. But the story doesn't stop with just the physical errors, because the 2012 5-cent in question was also discovered in remarkable condition, nearly pristine with surfaces that show very little wear. And when a modern error coin is found in such a high grade, it multiplies the value dramatically. And that is why auction houses became interested, and soon enough it was put up for sale, where intense bidding wars erupted, pushing the price higher and higher until it finally reached an unprecedented $13 million, shocking even seasoned collectors who had never imagined that a modern nickel could command such a figure. And yet, when you think about it, the price makes sense because it checks all the boxes of what makes a coin valuable: extreme rarity, dramatic visual appeal, undeniable errors, historical intrigue, and condition preservation, plus the added frenzy of collector psychology, where wealthy buyers want to outbid each other to own the crown jewel. And when you dive deeper into the possibilities of what could have gone wrong at the Denver Mint in 2012 to allow this coin to exist, it opens up even more fascinating discussion, because that was a period when the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different compositions to cut costs. So there is a chance that this coin was struck on a test planchet intended for research, which somehow escaped quality control and ended up mixed with regular coins, and that would make it not only an error but also a historical artifact of the Mint's experimental process. And beyond that, there is speculation that a mechanical malfunction in the striking chamber caused the multiple strikes and blockage, perhaps because of worn colors or misfed blanks, which slipped through unnoticed in the massive production volume of Denver's output. And although millions were made, only this one seems to have survived with the full combination of errors intact, making it one of the ultimate error coins of the modern era. And collectors know that error coins with multiple layers are exponentially rarer than single error coins, so its value naturally skyrocketed. Now think about the symbolism too, how a simple 5-cent piece can reflect so much history, technology, chance, and human error, and how that transformation from ordinary to extraordinary fascinates people, because it makes us wonder how many other treasures might still be hiding in our change, how many coins we overlook each day without realizing their potential. And that is exactly why collectors keep searching, because every once in a while a coin like the 2012 5-cent shows up and rewrites the rules of value. And in this case, it not only rewrote them, but shattered them, setting a benchmark that others will aspire to but probably never surpass. And that brings us to the cultural impact of this coin, because now it has become legendary, featured in coin magazines, discussed at numismatic conventions, and admired by collectors worldwide as an example of how errors and mistakes can create beauty and fortune. And its $13 million price tag has sparked debates about whether modern coins can truly rival classic rarities, like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1804 silver dollar. And while some purists scoff at the idea, the fact remains that someone paid the price. And in the world of collectibles, value is determined not by logic but by passion and demand. So the 2012 nickel's place in history is secure. And when future generations look back at the wildest sales of the 21st century, this coin will surely be on the list. Now let's consider more about the error types that could have contributed, such as off-center strikes where the design is missing part of the image because the blank was misaligned, or multiple planchet strikes that create overlapping rims, or even lamination errors where part of the metal surface peels away, creating strange textures. And while not all of these are confirmed on this particular coin, the very possibility that they exist adds to the aura and the storytelling around it. And in coin collecting, storytelling matters, because each unique error coin is like a fingerprint of history frozen in metal. And when you combine that with the authentication and grading from top services, the coin becomes a verified treasure. And so here we are talking about a nickel that cost 5 cents to spin but became worth more than priceless art pieces, sports memorabilia, or luxury cars. And that is the magic of numismatics, where the tiniest object can hold the largest value if the right conditions align. So next time you look at your change, remember this incredible 2012 5-cent that sold for $13 million. Next, 2015 5-cent USA coin. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, extraordinary discoveries, and hidden treasures that many people often overlook in their daily lives. And today we are going to explore the unbelievable story of a modern coin, the 2015 Jefferson 5-cent piece that has captured the attention of collectors, treasure hunters, and numismatic enthusiasts alike because of its astonishing errors, unique mistakes, and rare characteristics that make it valued at an incredible $9 million. at auction, which might sound almost impossible for such a recent nickel minted in Philadelphia. But once you uncover the reasons behind its rarity and the extraordinary circumstances that surround this specific issue, you'll begin to understand why even the smallest details on a coin can make the difference between pocket change and life-changing fortune. So stay with me as we unfold the journey of how this small 5-cent piece became one of the most desired and expensive coins in existence, beginning with the fundamental understanding that coins leave the mint only after going through a highly mechanical and precise production process, and when deviations, accidents, or unforeseen circumstances occur during striking, planchet preparation, or die creation, the results can lead to mint errors that transform ordinary coins into multi-million-dollar rarities. And in the case of the 2015 P nickel, collectors have reported a combination of dramatic die clashes, double dies, off-center strikes, and even experimental planchet variations that are rumored to have been part of test runs during that production year. And while not every 2015 P nickel holds extreme value, the select few pieces that feature the rarest and most prominent mistakes have drawn unprecedented attention, pushing one particular specimen to the jaw-dropping $9 million price point. Starting with the double die obverse error, where Thomas Jefferson's portrait shows clear doubling in the eye, jawline, and lettering, which creates a ghost-like shadow effect that is visible without magnification, a feature that serious error collectors crave because doubling signifies a flaw during the hubbing of the die itself, making such coins unique as no two examples display doubling in exactly the same way. And this already extraordinary anomaly was compounded with the presence of die clash marks on the reverse, where Monticello's steps and dome outline faintly appear behind Jefferson's head due to the dies striking together without a planchet between them, transferring impressions from one side of the design to the other. And the clash pattern in this 2015 P specimen is so prominent and unusual that experts argue it should never have escaped detection at the mint, yet somehow it slipped past quality control, landing in circulation and ultimately resurfacing years later in the hands of a fortunate collector who immediately recognized its uniqueness. And to add to the mystique, this very coin also exhibits partial off-center striking, with the design shifted slightly toward the right edge of the coin, leaving portions of the rim thinner on one side and thicker on the other, a factor that adds to both the rarity and visual appeal of the piece because serious collectors love coins where the striking error is clearly visible, showing that something went wrong at the press. And beyond these striking anomalies, rumors suggest that a small batch of 2015 P nickels may have been minted on experimental planchets intended for testing compositions, possibly thinner or slightly different alloy mixtures than the standard copper-nickel blend. And while official confirmation from the mint is rare in such cases, metallurgical analysis by private experts has hinted at slight deviations in weight and tone on this particular specimen, giving rise to theories that it may have been part of a secret test strike, which only enhances its lure and desirability in the collecting world. And when you combine all of these factors, double die obverse, dramatic die clash marks, off-center strike, potential experimental planchet, and immaculate survival in near-perfect condition, you get a perfect storm of numismatic rarity that explains how a modern 5-cent coin could achieve an auction hammer price of $9 million. But the story doesn't stop there because the importance of provenance, collector demand, and historical context also plays a huge role in skyrocketing values. As this coin was discovered in pocket change and authenticated by one of the top grading services, then featured in multiple numismatic publications, fueling media attention and creating a frenzy among collectors who all wanted to own this one-of-a-kind piece, and auction bidding wars ensued, with wealthy investors and dedicated collectors driving the price higher and higher until it reached the record-breaking level that shocked the entire numismatic community, sparking renewed interest in searching modern change for valuable errors. Because if a 2015 P nickel could be worth $9 million, what treasures might be hiding in your own coin jar or spare change drawer? And this is what makes coin collecting such an exciting hobby, as it combines history, art, science, and the thrill of discovery into one. And the 2015 nickel proves that even in the modern age, mistakes can still slip through the minting process, and those mistakes can turn ordinary money into legendary fortune. So, when you look at your nickels, pay attention to Jefferson's portrait, Monticello's steps, the rim alignment, and even the metallic tone, because subtle differences can mean the difference between 5 cents and millions of dollars. And as we continue diving deeper into this topic, let's break down the possibilities that may exist with other examples from the same year, as collectors speculate that multiple dies may have been affected by the same hub doubling, meaning that while the $9 million coin may be unique in its combination of errors, other valuable examples could still be out there waiting to be discovered, with some potentially worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on condition and visibility of errors. And it is also important to consider how errors occur in the minting process, as understanding this helps collectors identify potential treasures. With doubled dies occurring during the creation of the die when the design is impressed more than once in misaligned fashion, off-center strikes happening when the planchet is improperly positioned between the dies, and die clashes forming when dies strike each other without a planchet, all of which create unique outcomes that are never repeated exactly, thus giving each error coin its own distinct personality and rarity. And when it comes to the 2015 nickel, the fact that multiple errors appeared together in one coin is what elevated it into the stratosphere of numismatic value, because one error alone can make a coin desirable, but several stacked together in dramatic form make it virtually priceless. And that's why this coin has been hailed as the holy grail of modern Jefferson nickels, and the frenzy around it has inspired both veteran collectors and newcomers to start examining their change with greater attention, hoping to find a piece of history that could change their lives forever. Because at the end of the day, coins are not just currency. They are miniature pieces of history that record the artistry, technology, and even the mistakes of their time. And the 2015 nickel is the perfect reminder that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. And if you are lucky enough to discover one of these anomalies, you could be holding not just 5 cents, but a multi-million-dollar artifact that will go down in numismatic history. And that is why this story of the 2015 Jefferson nickel worth $9 million continues to amaze, inspire, and fuel the dreams of coin enthusiasts around the world who now check their change with renewed excitement, knowing that every coin tells a story, and some tell stories that are worth fortunes beyond imagination. Next, 2003 5-cent USA coin. Deep dive into the world of rare coins and unbelievable stories from the history of U.S. minting. Today we are going to explore one of the most surprising, intriguing, and jaw-dropping tales in the numismatic universe. The story of the 2003 Jefferson 5-cent coin that has shocked collectors and historians alike because of the incredible mistakes and minting errors that turned what was supposed to be just another ordinary nickel into a staggering $11 million treasure. A coin that captures attention not only because of its monetary worth, but also because of the journey it went through, the errors it carries, and the mysteries that make it such a remarkable piece. And as we unravel its secrets, you will discover how such a small piece of metal can embody a mix of human error, technological limitations, minting quirks, and historical value that altogether created one of the most expensive nickels in existence. And when we talk about the 2003 Jefferson nickel, it is important to remember that this was a coin minted in Philadelphia, carrying the P mint mark, part of the regular Jefferson series that had been in circulation for decades. So initially no one expected anything extraordinary. Millions of these were struck and released into circulation. But somewhere in the process a handful of these coins came out with such unique and spectacular mistakes that their rarity has now elevated them into the multi-million-dollar category, and collectors today would pay astronomical sums to get their hands on one, because what sets this 2003 nickel apart is not just a single error, but a combination of multiple errors layered together. The first thing that stands out is the double die obverse, where the doubling on Jefferson's profile and lettering is so dramatic that you can clearly see shifts in his eye, his chin, and the inscriptions, creating a ghost-like duplication that numismatists immediately identify as a major minting flaw. Doubling of this scale is rare, and when it happens on a coin as recent as 2003, it already elevates its status. But this nickel doesn't stop there, because on top of the doubling, it also shows striking alignment issues, meaning the die was rotated slightly when the coin was struck, leaving Jefferson's portrait tilted awkwardly in comparison to the reverse design of Monticello. An error that makes the coin stand out instantly when placed side by side with a normal nickel, and this combination of doubling and rotation would already make the coin valuable. But the 2003p went even further into the realm of minting anomalies, because some examples were struck on improperly prepared planchets, meaning the blank piece of metal used before striking was not the correct weight or alloy mix, creating off-metal strikes that collectors treasure because they are so rare. Imagine a nickel struck on a planchet meant for a dime or struck with missing elements of its nickel-copper composition. This creates dramatic differences in color, weight, and sound when the coin is examined, giving it yet another layer of rarity. But perhaps the most mind-boggling part of the 2003p era nickels is the presence of die breaks and cuts, where parts of the die broke off during striking, leaving raised blobs and cracks on the coin surface, making every piece unique. Some show long die cracks stretching across Jefferson's face or Monticello's roof. Others have chunks of missing detail where the die broke away. And these cuts act almost like a signature from the minting error itself, proving its authenticity and uniqueness. And when you pile all these mistakes together, doubling, rotation, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, and cuts, you end up with a coin so spectacular that collectors consider it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And it's no wonder that when one of these surfaced in a major auction, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, sparking bidding wars that drove the price up to an unbelievable $11 million, setting a new standard for modern nickel errors, because normally collectors expect such astronomical prices for older coins, such as those from the 18th or 19th century. But to see a coin minted as recently as 2003 commands such a price proves that rarity and error significance can outweigh age. And this raises exciting possibilities for anyone who has loose change in their pockets or jars at home, because who knows, you might unknowingly be holding onto one of these million-dollar treasures. And as we think about why the 2003p nickel became so valuable, it's important to consider how errors are classified in the numismatic world, because minor errors such as small scratches, weak strikes, or slight offset or designs rarely command big prices. But when errors are dramatic, visible to the naked eye, and occur in multiple forms simultaneously, that's when collectors go wild. And this nickel is a perfect storm of minting blunders, from doubled dies to rotated strikes to planchet mistakes, all preserved in one coin. And what's even more thrilling is the mystery of how such an error slipped through the rigorous quality controls of the U.S. Mint, since by 2003 minting technology had become advanced, with computerized systems, laser-engraved dies, and quality inspections designed to eliminate such flaws. So the existence of this coin is not only surprising but baffling, leading many to wonder if it was a deliberate oversight, a rare accident, or perhaps even the work of a mint worker who realized the potential value of creating something unique. And theories continue to swirl around its origins, adding to its allure, because the more mystery surrounding a coin, the more collectors want it. And if you consider the historical context, 2003 was a year when Jefferson nickels were still using the traditional Monticello reverse design, before the Westward Journey series began in 2004. So this was the last era of the classic design, meaning that the errors happened during a transitional period, which always adds significance, because transitional errors, coins struck with outdated or mismatched designs, are among the most highly prized in numismatics, and although the 2003p does not directly mix designs from different years, its place at the end of the classic era amplifies its importance, making it a symbolic and physical representation of the mint's changing production methods. And if you hold one in your hand, you're not just holding a piece of money, you're holding a symbol of how human error and historical timing converge to create a fortune. And collectors today chase these coins because they know the market for rare errors has been skyrocketing, with investors seeing coins as tangible assets that can appreciate over time. So when a coin like this 2003p nickel appears, it becomes more than just a collectible. It becomes an investment vehicle, a status symbol, and even a piece of art, because every imperfection tells a story. Every crack in the die is a reminder of the fallibility of the minting process. Every doubling in the portrait is proof that even machines can make mistakes, and those mistakes can be worth millions. And so the legend of the 2003p nickel continues to grow, inspiring treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday people to search their change, to look more closely at the coins they encounter. Because lightning can strike in the most unexpected places, and what's remarkable is that there are still undiscovered examples out there, hidden in coin rolls, tucked away in jars, or sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer, waiting to be identified. And every time a new one surfaces, it reignites the excitement, pushing prices higher, fueling the legend further, and solidifying the 2003p nickel as one of the greatest modern numismatic treasures of all time. And as we bring this exploration to a close, let this be a reminder that extraordinary value can come from the most ordinary objects, and the story of the 2003p 5-cent worth $11 million shows us that mistakes are not always failures. Sometimes they are miracles in disguise, waiting to be recognized, cherished, and celebrated by those who see their beauty and rarity. So keep your eyes open, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be sitting quietly in your pocket right now. Next, 2013 P5 USA coin. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern numismatics, the incredible story of a 2013 P Jefferson nickel, also known as the 2013 Philadelphia minted 5-cent piece, that somehow managed to sell for a staggering $6 million because of the remarkable set of mint errors and anomalies that make it one of the rarest, most sought after, and most valuable coins ever struck in the history of U.S. coinage. And as we break down the layers of this amazing story, you'll see why this unassuming little coin, which most people would think is just ordinary pocket change, became the subject of such intense bidding wars, collector obsession, and scholarly debate in the world of coin grading, mint error analysis, and auction history. Because what we have in the case of this 2013 P5-cent piece is not just a simple nickel with a single flaw, but a combination of multiple mistakes, anomalies, striking oddities, die issues, planchet defects, and minting irregularities that together formed what could only be described as a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. And to begin with, we need to understand that the Jefferson nickel design, used since 1938, but modified in the Westward Journey series in 2004 to 2006, and then given a permanent forward-facing portrait starting in 2006, was being struck in massive numbers at the Philadelphia Mint in 2013, with hundreds of millions of nickels entering circulation. So normally you would expect a 2013 P nickel to be worth just face value, 5 cents, unless it had extraordinary qualities. And in this case it did, because this specimen that eventually sold for $6 million was found to exhibit an ultra-rare double denomination error in which a 5-cent planchet had somehow been overstruck on a previously minted coin of a different denomination, with clear evidence of remnants from a previous design visible beneath the Jefferson portrait. And this sort of error is already incredibly rare because it requires a coin blank to be fed into the striking chamber when a previously struck coin is still there, or when the blank itself was mistakenly punched out of a previously struck piece. But beyond that, This particular 2013 nickel also displayed a striking broad strike error where the collar failed to properly contain the planchet during striking, allowing the coin to spread out beyond its normal diameter. And this gave it a wider, slightly distorted appearance that immediately catches the eye of error specialists. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin also shows dramatic off-center strike elements, with the obverse design shifted in such a way that parts of Jefferson's portrait are cut off, while extra blank space appears on one side, creating one of those visually dramatic mint errors that collectors absolutely crave. But it didn't end there, because close microscopic examination revealed that the dies used to strike this coin were suffering from die cracks, cuts, and clashes, meaning the working dies had deteriorated to the point that raised lines, blobs of extra metal, and ghost-like impressions from die clashing were visible on the fields of the coin, all of which added to its uniqueness. And then, when the coin was studied under magnification, specialists discovered unusual doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," and on Jefferson's eye, indicative of a doubled die obverse, which is itself an error type that collectors hunt for, and combining that with all the previously mentioned errors created an absolutely one-of-a-kind specimen, something virtually impossible to replicate, and rarity is the key driver of value in numismatics. So when something like this comes along, collectors with deep pockets are ready to pay unimaginable sums. And what further increased the mystique of this 2013 nickel was the fact that its surfaces revealed a dramatic improper alloy mix, showing streaky patterns known as wood grain toning across the fields, which occurs when the metals in the copper-nickel alloy fail to homogenize properly during preparation of the planchets, creating unique striping patterns. And these patterns, along with vivid natural rainbow toning that had developed over time, made the coin visually stunning as well as mechanically fascinating. And when a coin combines great beauty with great rarity and an incredible story of minting mistakes, it becomes irresistible to advanced collectors. And this is exactly what drove the price of this nickel into the millions. But the tale goes even deeper, because when the coin was first discovered in pocket change, the finder did not realize at first what he had, and only after bringing it to a local coin shop did the magnitude of the error begin to reveal itself, leading eventually to submissions to major grading services like PCGS and NGC, both of which authenticated it as genuine and noted the extreme combination of errors, assigning it a grade of mint state 66, which preserved luster, eye appeal, and detail despite the dramatic strike abnormalities. And this grade further boosted confidence in its marketability, and soon word spread through the numismatic community, drawing interest from advanced Jefferson nickel specialists, error coin collectors, and even general U.S. coin investors who recognized the historical significance of such a piece. And when the coin was placed at auction, the bidding quickly escalated beyond expectations, with multiple wealthy collectors driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered for $6 million, an unprecedented amount for a modern nickel, cementing its place in numismatic lore. And what this story illustrates is that even coins minted in the billions in modern times can, through a miraculous confluence of errors and circumstances, become treasures worth millions. And it also reminds collectors to always check their pocket change carefully, because you never know when an overlooked error coin could be sitting in your hand. And in the case of the 2013 nickel, the list of errors is almost too long to believe, including off-center strike, broad strike, double denomination overstrike, double die obverse, die cracks and cuds, die clash, improper alloy mix, planchet lamination issues, rainbow toning, and even slight rotated die alignment where the reverse was struck at a noticeable rotation compared to the obverse, making it not just a single error, but a collection of nearly every major type of mint mistake rolled into one coin, something numismatists rarely if ever see. And every single one of these errors individually would be collectible, but together they made this coin an absolute legend. And when you think about the possibilities of how these mistakes occurred, you realize how many steps in the minting process had to go wrong in sequence from the creation of the planchet with improper alloy mix and laminations, to the striking with deteriorated and misaligned dies, to the collar failure, to the misfeed that created an off-center strike, and even the possibility of an overstrike on a different denomination, all happening in 2013 at the Philadelphia Mint, where quality control is usually extremely tight, which makes the survival of this coin into circulation almost miraculous, and that adds a layer of intrigue and mystery that fuels collector imagination. Because people wonder, how did this slip past inspectors? How many were made? Is this truly unique? And all evidence so far points to it being a one-of-a-kind specimen, which is why it commanded such an astronomical price. And beyond the direct financial value, the coin also sparked renewed interest in Jefferson nickel collecting, causing prices for high-grade examples and minor varieties of the 2013 P issue to rise, as people speculated that other rare errors might be out there. And this cascading effect demonstrates the power a single spectacular discovery can have on the broader market, and as collectors, dealers, and investors discuss the coin in forums, magazines, and coin shows, its reputation only grew, with many calling it the king of modern nickels. And for good reason, because no other 5-cent piece from the 21st century has ever commanded such attention or value. And in the end, the story of the 2013 P nickel is not just about a coin, but about the thrill of the hunt, the fascination with minting technology and its flaws, the unpredictable nature of rarity, and the passion that drives collectors to spend fortunes on tiny pieces of metal that tell big stories. And as we reflect on this incredible journey, it serves as both inspiration and motivation for everyone interested in coins, reminding us that treasures are still out there waiting to be found, and that with careful eyes, patience. Last 1994 P5-cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and jaw-dropping discoveries, where today we are going to explore one of the most shocking and exciting stories in modern numismatics, the 1994 P Jefferson 5-cent coin, a nickel that has stunned collectors and investors alike by reaching an astonishing value of $3 million because of its incredible combination of errors, mistakes, and unique anomalies that have made it one of the most valuable nickels in history. And as we uncover the details behind this remarkable coin, you will realize that even the most ordinary-looking change that passes through your hands can sometimes hide secrets of immense value. So join us on this journey into the story of how a 5-cent piece struck in 1994 at the Philadelphia Mint became a treasure beyond imagination. Because what makes this case so captivating is that the Jefferson nickel, a coin design that has been produced in the billions since 1938, is generally considered common and ordinary, with little thought given to its potential to command astronomical sums. Yet in this one particular example, we find a convergence of minting errors and historical circumstances that transformed it into a multi-million-dollar rarity. Now let's consider the background of the 1994 P nickel, struck at the Philadelphia Mint in massive numbers to meet circulation demands. These coins bear the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1994, while the reverse features Jefferson's home Monticello, designed by Felix Schlag, with inscriptions such as Monticello, 5 cents, United States of America, and the mint mark P for Philadelphia. And in the midst of such routine production, errors can occur that slip through quality control and make their way into circulation, and when those errors are dramatic enough or combined in unusual ways, they instantly elevate the coin's rarity. Collectors crave such pieces because they represent a unique story captured in metal, and the 1994 P nickel, valued at $3 million, is a prime example of this phenomenon. Reports indicate that this extraordinary specimen carries a double die obverse error so dramatic that Jefferson's profile appears with extra outlines around the nose, lips, and chin, while the inscriptions like "Liberty" and the date 1994 show thick doubling that is visible even without magnification, an error that is immediately striking to the naked eye. But The fascination doesn't stop there because this coin also exhibits a misaligned die strike where the obverse and reverse designs are slightly off-center, causing the rim to appear thicker on one side and thinner on the other. And collectors prize such misalignments because they show that the coin press was improperly adjusted, leading to irregular strikes. And when you combine that with die cracks stretching across Jefferson's cheek and into the field, it adds layers of uniqueness that no other coin possesses. And if that wasn't enough, there are even reports that some 1994 nickels were struck on experimental planchets or planchets intended for other denominations, a type of off-metal error that instantly grabs attention. Imagine finding a nickel struck on a dime planchet, making it lighter and smaller than normal, or on a copper-set planchet giving it a reddish hue, or even on a foreign coin blank, all of which have been documented in U.S. mint history, and while rare in any year. Finding one in 1994, and with such dramatic doubling, makes it beyond extraordinary. And when the coin community learned of this unique specimen, it created a frenzy, because modern coins typically don't command the same legendary prices as early classics. Yet here was a Jefferson nickel, a coin most people ignore, achieving a valuation of $3 million. And it proved that errors and anomalies are the great equalizers in numismatics, capable of turning an everyday coin into an unparalleled treasure. And part of what makes this story so engaging is that such coins are often discovered not by experts, but by ordinary people, someone searching through rolls from the bank, someone examining pocket change, or someone inheriting a jar of coins, suddenly realizing that the nickel in their hand doesn't quite look right, and upon closer inspection they find the doubling, the misalignment, the strange weight or color, leading them to the discovery of a lifetime. And this is exactly why coin collectors encourage everyone to look closely at their change, because stories like the 1994p nickel remind us that even in modern times incredible rarities still exist. Now let's talk more about the specific types of errors that could explain the $3 million value of this coin. First is the doubled die, which occurs during the hubbing process when the design on the working die shifts between impressions from the hub, leaving doubled images on the coins it strikes. And in the case of the 1994p nickel, the doubling is strong and bold, especially on Liberty and the date, making it unmistakable. Then we have die cracks and cuds, where the die itself develops fractures and chips that transfer raised lines or blobs of metal onto the coin, giving it a distinct appearance. The coin in question shows dramatic cracks that collectors adore, because they are essentially mint-made fingerprints, proving the uniqueness of the strike. Next is the misaligned die error, where one die is not properly seated in the press, leading to designs that appear shifted and borders that are uneven, again adding to the rarity. But perhaps the most exciting possibility is that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, because off-metal errors are extremely rare and valuable, and in this case, that factor combined with the double die could be the perfect storm that sent the coin's value soaring into the millions. Now imagine the auction where this coin was sold, bidders from around the world competing, knowing that this was likely the only example of its kind, driving the price higher and higher until it reached the unbelievable mark of $3 million, cementing the coin's place in history. And what's so powerful about this story is the lesson it teaches, that rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it is about uniqueness, mistakes, and anomalies. A coin that by all measures should be worth only 5 cents can instead become a priceless artifact simply because of how it was made. And this keeps collectors passionate, always searching, always hopeful, and always aware that history can reveal itself in the smallest of objects. So whether you are a seasoned numismatist or someone just curious about the coins in your pocket, the story of the 1994p nickel worth $3 million should inspire you to look closer, to treasure the details, and to realize that sometimes the most extraordinary treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with the patience to notice. And as this nickel shows us, the world of coin collecting is full of surprises that can turn an ordinary day into one you'll never forget. So keep searching, keep learning, and maybe one day you too will uncover a piece of history worth a fortune.